Hello folks, Everchanger here, and welcome back to more Pokemon Crystal. Last time, we got our journey started here in the Johto region, and I went over a lot of information, so I hope that was helpful. Also last time, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon were the most recently revealed Pokemon games. Yeah, I'm recording this the day of the Nintendo E3 presentation, and man oh man was I not expecting confirmation that presumably Generation 8 was going to be coming to the Switch. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't think they'd tell us now of all times. So yeah, really interesting times we live in. Anyway, going backwards about 17 years, here we are playing Pokemon Crystal, and as you might have noticed, it is, well, dark out. If you go into our Pokegear, you will see that it is 8:54 p.m. on a Tuesday. As I might have mentioned last time, there is a day and night cycle in Generation 2, which is definitely a big step up from Generation 1. Now, the day is split into 3 sections. The morning is from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., the daytime is from 10 a.m. to, I believe, 8 p.m., and then nighttime is the rest, so 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. This can actually affect what Pokemon appear on your journey, and we're going to be getting into that pretty much immediately. Also new to Pokemon Crystal specifically, those little signposts on the bottom of the screen that tell you what area you are in. Those were not in Gold and Silver. This is the first game to do this, which I think is really cool. Anyway, this route stretches between Cherry Grove City and New Barktown, so I think we're going to be checking it out. This guy right here, I really like him, but we're not going to be seeing why until a little bit later. Pokemon hide in the grass. Who knows when they'll pop out? Indeed, this is tall grass, and Pokemon might actually jump out at you. I got a little lucky there, actually. This is Route 29, the first route in the game, really basic stuff. Yo, how are your Pokemon? If they're weak and not ready for battle, keep out of the grass. They always include an NPC that says this. I don't know why, but they always put him right next to a spot where you are required to go through the grass to proceed, so I'm not really sure what his motivation is there. Anyway, walking through the tall grass, you may encounter wild Pokemon such as Hoot Hoot right here. Hoot Hoot is an example of a Pokemon that only shows up at nighttime, which is pretty neat. Now you might wonder why I'm not going over the new Pokemon that you can find here right away. That is purely because we have no way of obtaining them yet, so we're not going to be going over that until a little bit later. As you can see, Hoot Hoot right there used Growl. Pokemon have attacks that can either raise their own stats, or in rare cases their opponent's, or the opponent can do the exact same thing to you. The way this works in at least the most recent games, and I think it's that way here too, right here is a potion by the way, which as we explained last time, raises 20 HP. The way those stat buffs work is when you boost stats, I believe they go up in thirds. So stats start at a 3/3 stat boost, and they can go up to 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, all the way up to 9/3. And it also works the opposite way. When you start to decrease stats, they will go down to 3/4, 3/5, 3/6, all the way down to 3/9. So you can go from tripling a stat to having a stat be a third of what it normally is. Anyway, whenever you defeat a Pokemon under pretty much any circumstance in this game, you will obtain experience points, which you use to level up, get stronger, learn new moves, and eventually evolve. I wanted to take a break, so I saved to record my progress. Yes, definitely worth noting. I do not show this on screen, but you are going to want to save your game often, because if you do not save, the game will not remember what you have done. Really basic stuff. Different kinds of Pokemon appear past here. If you want to catch them all, you have to look everywhere. Yes, indeedy. You can't climb ledges, but you can jump down from them to take a shortcut. Case in point, right up here is Route 46. Quite a jump, isn't it? Route 46, Mountain Road ahead. Unfortunately, there is no way for us to proceed in this area because there are ledges. There are certain Pokemon here that you cannot find on Route 29, but again, we're going to be going over that later. I just figured I'd point out that this is here. Anyway, going onwards, right on through this way, we have a little more tall grass, and we also have this lady right over here. See those ledges? It's scary to jump off them, but you can go to Newbark without walking through the grass. Most first routes in Pokemon games are designed like that. I think that's a really nice little feature just to teach Pokemon players the mechanics and things like that. Right here is Rattata, a Pokemon that appears pretty much everywhere starting out here at all times of day. But I think we're going to scratch it anyway. I definitely recommend battling wild Pokemon in this early area just because it can get you some levels. One complaint that a lot of people have with the Johto-based games is the level curve is a little weird. So I would recommend training your Pokemon more often than not just because you might wind up falling a little bit behind. Anyway, as you can see right there, I hit the threshold for leveling up and thus leveled up. Expect to see that a lot in this series. I'm waiting for Pokemon that appear only in the morning. Now, this is worth noting. Most Pokemon that appear in the daytime will also appear in the morning, but there are certain Pokemon that will only appear in the morning and not in daytime proper, and I'll try to make note of this whenever possible. This right here is a fruit-bearing tree. Hey, it's berry! And we get yet another berry, and that will go into our items pocket. I didn't explain this too clearly last time. Basically, what berries are is they're held items that Pokemon can use during battle. So, for example, if a Pokemon is holding a berry and the HP gets low, it will automatically consume the berry and regain health. A potion will not work this way because it's a man-made item and Pokemon might not necessarily know what to do with it. At least that's how they explain it in universe. So you're going to have to use up a turn to use the potion, but the berry will initiate without consuming your Pokemon's turn, which is really cool. Anyway, if we check the tree again, there's nothing here. These fruit-bearing trees will regenerate every night at midnight. Also worth noting, that tree in the remake contains an item called an apricorn. Those are not going to be introduced in this game until a little bit later, so we're not going to be going over them until then. Plus, in the remake, those items are pretty much useless until the point where they get introduced in this game, so I figure it's not really worth going over right now. Anyway, right here, fun fact, you can completely skip this guy and just not even talk to him, but I want to talk to him because he has something pretty good. You're a rookie trainer, aren't you? I can tell. That's okay, everyone's a rookie at some point. If you'd like, I can teach you a few things. Sure thing, buddy. Okay then, follow me. This is a Pokemon Center. They heal your Pokemon in no time at all. You'll be relying on them a lot, so you better learn about them. This is a Pokemon Mart. They sell balls for catching wild Pokemon and other useful items. Route 30 is out this way. Trainers will be battling their prized Pokemon there. This is the sea, as you can see. Some Pokemon are found only in water, something we will not be getting into for a little while yet. And right over here, it's my house. Thank you for your company. Let me give you a small gift, and we will receive the map card for our Pokegear. David's Pokegear now has a map. Pokegear becomes more useful as you add cards. I wish you luck on your journey. Now, that line might imply that cards are like some huge mechanic in this game, but it turns out after this one there is only one more. Anyway, right here, as you can see, this is basically a town map that allows us to check out all of the areas of Johto. Very, very nice. Anyway, this guy actually has a nameplate on his house, the Guide Gent's house. Everything he explained right there is pretty much what I would have said, so yeah, take his advice to heart. Cherry Grove City, the city of cute, fragrant flowers. I really like the slogans in this game. Alrighty, right here, this is a Pokemon Center. Good evening, you're out late. Welcome to our Pokemon Center. We can heal your Pokemon to perfect health. Shall we heal your Pokemon? Say yes, and your Pokemon will be healed just like that machine in Professor Elm's lab. So, always make note of where Pokemon Centers are. They appear in most cities and towns, so you're definitely going to want to make note of that. Over there is the PC, which as of right now functions pretty much exactly the same as the one in our bedroom. There's also this entry right here, Bill's PC, but we really cannot do anything with that yet, so we're just going to leave it. Also worth noting, right upstairs here is the communication center. There's another PC up here, and there's a whole bunch of features right here that involve communicating with other players, but I'm not going to be going over this because odds are if you're playing Crystal specifically, you're probably not going to be able to do much up here. If you are playing the Gold and Silver Virtual Console releases, presuming you're watching this video in the future, ooh, then you might have some cool stuff to do up there involving communicating with other players. Anyway, I think I'm going to show the mart real quick right here just to show what you can buy. You can buy potions, antidotes, which cure poison, Paralyze Heal, which heal paralysis, Awakening, which heals sleep, and that's it. Poison is a status affliction that causes your Pokemon to lose health inside battle and outside battle as you walk, and in this game, the Pokemon will eventually faint outside of battle if you do not cure the condition. Paralysis basically makes it so your Pokemon will randomly be unable to attack, and I believe it also lowers its speed. And Sleep basically renders a Pokemon unable to attack for a few turns. Unlike Poison and Paralysis, Sleep will naturally go away on its own after a while. Anyway, I'm not going to be buying any of that because I really don't need it. So instead, we are just going to head right on out to Route 30. Really not a lot of stuff to do in Cherry Grove City, but I feel like that's pretty standard for the first city in any Pokemon game, so we're just going to ignore it. Anyway, right here is a pond, and to the southeast of here, there is actually a pond that is accessible in the remake. You can see it from Cherry Grove City, but you can't actually go to it. And there's a really funny thing about that pond in the remake. Half of it is on Route 30, and half of it is in Cherry Grove City. When you're in the Cherry Grove City side, you will actually get wild encounters in that pond based on the ocean, because there's an ocean in Cherry Grove City. If you're on the Route 30 side, you get a completely different table of encounters, which I find really, really funny. Anyway, right here is another berry, which is really nice. Gonna grab that. Might as well stock up on these. They're pretty useful for the early game. And right here, you know, Pokemon eat berries. Well, my Pokemon got healthier by eating a berry. Here, I'll share one with you. And here you get a one-time free berry. Here you get a key item to hold apricorns in the remake. But in this game, since you don't really have to worry about giving your Pokemon apricorns to hold and trading them, they don't have that item here. The reason that item was in the remake because they didn't want to break anything by possibly being able to trade such held items over to Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. But here, obviously, since those games are in the future, we don't really have to worry. Anyway, right here is Spinarak, which I believe is another Pokemon that only appears at night? I'm not positive, but I think it only appears at night. If I'm wrong, we'll be going over that later when we come through here with the ability to actually catch some of these Pokemon, because we do not have that ability as of right now. Anyway, a lot of experience right there. Very nice. And right over here is an antidote, which I believe we already explained, so I'm not going to be going over it. And right here we have this guy. Mr. Pokemon's house? It's a bit further ahead. But not this way. Go, Rattata! Tackle! What? This is a big battle. Leave me alone. That kid with his prized Rattata? Oh, he's gonna go places. Mr. Pokemon's house straight ahead. Alright, we actually want to cut through this way. Both ways lead to exactly the same place, so it doesn't really matter whether you go left or right through the grass here, so we're just gonna go right. Right here we have another Hoothoot level 4. Dang, that's pretty high level compared to some of the stuff we've seen before. But yeah, early on in Pokemon Crystal, you're just gonna be seeing level 2, 3, and 4. Really, really simple, standard stuff. So we're just gonna scratch this one until it goes down, and this will probably get us to level 7 when I think we learn a new move. I'm not positive, but I think we do. Alright, it's gonna take a tackle to the face. And we're gonna scratch again, and wow, it's this thing's resilient. Dang. Alright. Anyway, gonna scratch one more time, and down it goes. And that will 100% get us to level 7. Very good. And Totodile learned Rage. Rage works a little differently than it did in Generation 1. In this game, basically what it does is you use it, and it's kind of weak. But if the opponent attacks you, Rage will get more powerful the next time you use it. Unlike in older games, you're not locked into using it. It simply powers up if you choose to use it the next turn. Anyway, I think there's an item around here. Yes, there is a potion hidden right here in the grass. Now, Bulbapedia swears up and down that this item is there in the remake, but I could not for the life of me find it when I came over here in my own personal playthrough. Mind you, I didn't have the hidden item sensing ability yet, so I might have just been looking in the wrong spot. Anyway, right here we have a Poison Cure Berry. This functions pretty much the same as an antidote, except you can, of course, equip it to your Pokemon and they might use it autonomously during battle whenever they get poisoned. This berry would eventually be retooled into the Pecha Berry in later games. And this right here is Mr. Pokemon's house. Hello, hello, you must be David. Professor Elm said that you would visit. This is what I want Professor Elm to examine. And we get the Mystery Egg. Now mind you, back when Gold, Silver, and Crystal were brand new, the concept of Pokemon eggs was a pretty major thing at the time. And yes, spoiler alert, there is a Pokemon in this egg. I mean, what on earth else would hatch out of this egg? I mean, humans don't lay eggs, and I don't see any regular animals in this world. Anyway, we put it in the key items pocket, making good use of that multi-pocketed pack. I know a couple who run a Pokemon daycare service. They gave me that egg. I was intrigued, so I sent mail to Professor Elm. For Pokemon evolution, Professor Elm is the authority. Even Professor Oak here recognizes that. If my assumption is correct, Professor Elm will know it. And this is Professor Oak. Yes, he is in this game. Been a long 3 years, buddy. Aha, so you're David. I'm Oak, a Pokemon researcher. I was just visiting my old friend, Mr. Pokemon. I heard you were running an errand for Professor Elm, so I waited here. Oh, what's this? A rare Pokemon? Let's see. I see. I understand why Professor Elm gave you a Pokemon for this errand. To researchers like Professor Elm and I, Pokemon are our friends. He saw that you would treat your Pokemon with loving care. Ah, you seem to be dependable. How would you like to help me out? See, this is the latest version of Pokédex. It automatically records data on Pokemon you've seen or caught. It's a high-tech encyclopedia. And we receive the Pokédex. Don't even have to give him anything in return. Go meet many kinds of Pokemon and complete that Pokédex. But I've stayed too long. I have to get to Goldenrod for my usual radio show. David, I'm counting on you. And off he goes. You're returning to Professor Elm? Here, your Pokemon should have some rest. And we get a free heal. Sometimes NPCs will do this. Usually it's a one-time thing, but sometimes they will actually offer it as a service. I'm depending on you. Now, this Pokédex, our menu is complete. It will go right to the top right here, and as that little tooltip says, it is a Pokemon database. It keeps track of how many Pokemon you've seen and how many you've caught. As of right now, we only have one because we have no way of getting any more. This list right here is known as the new Pokédex. This is a Johto-specific list. This is back before regional Pokédexes were really a thing, so this is pretty much the initial incarnation of them. It doesn't really have a name. It's not called the Johto Pokédex, it's called the new Pokédex. The one that appears in the remake is called the Johto Pokédex. A little confusing, I know, but they are a little different. Anyway, if we hit select, we can choose old Pokédex mode, and it says Pokemon are listed by official type. And it will reorder them, and now it will be in National Pokédex order. This is basically the order from Generation 1, except they add all of the Johto Pokemon onto the end of it, and this will later be known as the National Pokédex order. And there is also A to Z mode, which listed Pokemon alphabetically. This is pretty nice because it actually takes out all the blank spots, in case you're curious about it. Anyway, the Pokédex will list the Pokemon, the National Pokédex number, its footprint, its height, its weight, its classification, and a little entry about it. So Totodile is the big jaw Pokemon. This rough critter chomps at any moving object it sees. Turning your back on it is not recommended. We also have the little area page that will tell you where you can find the Pokemon. As you can see, you can't find Totodile anywhere in the region. because it is a starter Pokemon. If we go over to Spinarak, however, and we hit Area, you can see all the places where it can be found. As you can see right here, height, weight, and Pokedex entry are hidden until you catch the Pokemon. We also have the Cry button right here. That basically lets you re-listen to what the Pokemon sounds like. There's also this Pernt button. Press it. Printer error 2. Check the Game Boy printer manual. Press B to cancel. Basically, there was an add-on for the Game Boy known as the Game Boy Printer, and you could actually use this print function to print out Pokedex entries of Pokemon. Not something I ever owned or knew anybody who owned one, but it's really, really interesting. Odds are, when the Gold and Silver re-release hits the Virtual Console, this function's just not gonna work, because I really don't expect them to put in the effort to make this in any way possible. Anyway, I'm gonna switch this over to the new mode, which also is listed by evolution type. Generation 2 introduced some Pokemon that evolve either from or into Generation 1 Pokemon, and this order puts those relatives together, whereas in the national order they are separate. Also, if we press start, we can search for Pokemon. Unfortunately, in Generation 2, this is a really basic feature, and you can only search by type, and that's it. So, I don't think it really matters, but I really do like Slowpoke's little animation right here. If we just hit begin search, he will leaf through his little book, and it will say the specified type was not found. Oh well, because, of course, we don't own any Pokemon that are of the pure normal type. Worth noting though, Rattata actually is a pure normal type, so the search function only really works on Pokemon that you have caught. So, figured that was worth noting. Anyway, with all that out of the way, I think it's time we headed outside. And we are getting a phone call from Professor Elm. And what a first phone call it is. Hello? David? It's a disaster. It's just terrible. What should I do? Oh no. Please get back here now. And he hangs up. Very, very interesting indeed. But I think we are going to end things off here. Yes, I am a cliffhanger kind of person. So, this past episode of Pokemon Crystal, we got here to Mr. Pokemon's house, and we got this mysterious item known as the Mystery Egg, an egg obtained from Mr. Pokemon. Very curious. And next time on Pokemon Crystal, we are going to be heading back to Professor Elm and checking out what has been going down. Now, one thing I should mention before we leave, someone in the comments is probably going to say, wait, wasn't there something special that happens on Route 29 on Tuesdays? Not yet. Just going to leave it at that. So without further ado, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.